saw the terutzim to the shaila of how come Reb Zera fasted so many fasts to forget Talmud Bavli, and all we should be able to learn Talmud Yerushalmi if the emphasis the Talmud Bavli is on a much higher madrega, and ultimately the elevation reached through learning Talmud Bavli is incomparably higher than Talmud Yerushalmi. And if that's the case, why did he fast? So we answered on that several terutzim, and the last teretz was that we were gam yesh lema on Tzadik Beis. The begilui oyer yesh maila yesa betalmud Yerushalmi, but we are pilful the Talmud Bavli agam shemagim of chinas amitius or atzmus mikol mokim ika hagilui mizeh yeh liosid. So we see that the final teretz is beneged to Inyan of Gilui. And so the Inyan of Atzmusa is Barach is Lamaila mi Gilui vehelem gam yachad, as it is nowadays. In the Seder it is now. Then it's not right to say that Atzmus is Behelem, and it's not right to say that Atzmus is Begolui. Because as the Alter Rebbe brings in Torah and Pasha Vayero, the Alter Rebbe says over there that the Atzmus is Gam Begilu, Gam Behelem, he's Lamaila Gam Begilu, Gam Behelem. Because the whole difference of Gilu Behelem is only in a Ha'ora mi Atzmus is Barach. But in the Etzem of the Atzmus, it's not Shayach Gilu, not Shayach a Helem. The Fa'an says the Rebbe that in the union of Giluim, if we take revelation of Elikus, then we can say that in Talmud Yerushalmi, mitzad the Maila, that it's like we saw Chochma Brura, and it's similar to how the Torah was Nimtzo and Nimshach in Torah Shebiksav, how it was given the Etzem Torah and Nitan B'Sinai. Then in the union of the Gilui Oyer Shebezeh, then that's higher than in Bavli. And therefore we saw that the Gemara Darshan, the union of Talmud Bavli from the Pasuk in the Eicha B'Machshachim Hoishivani K'meisei Oyron, what we brought down earlier, that's that Talmud Bavli, that the union of Talmud Bavli is compared to sitting in the darknesses, Rahmanim Islam. And therefore mitzad the Gilui Oyer, the union of Ha'ora Mia Atzmus, and that's more in Talmud Yerushalmi than in Talmud Bavli. Meaning that when the mensch is Mishyageya nowadays in Talmud Bavli, even though he reaches the Minyan Amitius Atzmusei, then he doesn't actually have the Gilui of that. And on the contrary, we see that Li'achrei, Kola effort and Kola Yigir that there is in the union of learning Talmud Bavli, that ultimately the mensch, when he finishes, he still remains in a state of having felt that we put in a tremendous effort, but Shema Yelozeh Hadayin Ha'emetz. Like we see that the great Poiskim have all sorts of klolim, how it is that they learn out their halachas from the sugyas, that even at the end of the whole sugya with the whole maskana, it's still not a betachlis clear what is the ultimate saktin halacha l'maisa in the Gemara, as you all know. But you can't paskin from the sugyas Gemara. You have to have the klolei ha-poiskim in order to understand what is the halacha. So we see from that that even when the mensch has reached the Amitis HaMaskona, then he doesn't have the inyan from Gilui Oyer like he does in Talmud Yerushalmi. And that's because the inyan from Talmud Bavli is inyoni is what it's mushash in the inyan of Atzmus Mamich. And Atzmus is Lamaila Mihelem Gilui Gam Yachad. And on the contrary, the inyan from Atzmus is moved al nelam from the Mekablim Koloi Duk Mashiach as in Kam, which taken from Yad, we have to assume that he is going to come, taken from Yad. is of a colloid that hasn't been that regular, then the helem of Atzmus, Lagabi de Mekablim, is a helem absolutely. It's Lamaila Lagami from their ability to be massive. That was the Rebbe that in the Maila Talmud Yerushalmi is the Inyan of Gilui. Mashenkin in Talmud Bavli, Dafki, because you come to the Iskashvet in Atzmus Mamish, therefore it's Kemach Shachim, it's still as it were darkness. You never really see the light Begoloi B'tachas Agiloi. And when the mensch is working as it were for nothing, finally the Gilui from that whole effort in the Inyan of the Talmud Bavli, that's going to be B'Yiskalas Dafki Liosi. In other words, when Moshiach will come, and there'll be the Gilui of the Oirus Halaya, including Batzmusei Mamish. So then there'll be the possibility of Talmud Bavli also to be Begilui. By definition, it's not Begilui now, Mitzad Dafki, because it's the Inyan for Yichud, Iskalas Batzmusei. But Yossi, there will be the Gilui in such a madrega that even the Inyonim of Atzmus will be Begoloi. Exactly how that will be, we don't quite understand. We have no knowledge exactly how that will be. And that was the only way you can understand the Maila of Talmud Bavli, if we talk about Gilui, is only by knowing that Talmud Bavli will be the Madregan Elikus through limit of Talmud Bavli is only going to be Miskala Liosi. And therefore he calls it the Inyan of Shashuim or Atzmiyam. Because Shashuim means literally playthings. How do you call it? A shashua is the name for, you can even call a toy nowadays a shashua. In other words, the Inyan of Shashuim means like playing within the self. The Shashuim Ha'atzmiyim. And that means the Inyan of Tainug. The Shashua in this Inyan here indicates the Inyan of Tainug. Kaviyochel, there's a madrega in the Torah, that's what we call Elokim. Yoda Adocha, with the rest of, how did he use the expression? That Dafke Elokim, Hevin Darko, what that means, the Atzmusi is Barak. In that level, the Eivshe Kaviyochel is Misanig with the Torah. In other words, he literally plays with the Torah and has Tainu, B'toich Atzmusei, from the Inyan HaTorah. And that's a Inyan which is only Shaykh in him Kaviyochel. That he feels the Inyan, we're going to see later on in the Hemshech, but that's what we call the Tainu Ga'achmi, Abilti Nimshak, Abilti Murkav. That's the Tanugim Kaviyochel, the Eibishter B'toich Atzmusei. And that's the Madrega of Torah, how it is mitzad the Talmud Bavli. And that's only Shayat Leosid, that there should be any Gilui from that. Because mitzad the whole Seder, nowadays you can't talk about a Gilui from that level. And afar, the Maila from Talmud Yerushalmi is that it has the Inyan from Gilui Mashenkin in Talmud Bavli, you don't have the Gilui but that's because you can't really have the Gilui because it's Mamish Mitzad Atzmusei. And the Gilui from that is only going to be Liyotzi. And that's the Inyan of Shashuim or Atzmiyim, or that's a level of Torah, how it's only, as it were, within the Eibishter himself, only he, as it were, plays with the Torah, or is Misani in the Torah, of it's not a level which is actually given to the Nivroim. And yet we saw that that's the whole Chiddush, that a mensch, alidei, his Yigiyah in Torah, and he struggled in Torah, then he can come to the level of Torah, how it is mitzad atzmus. And that's what we're going to see now as we go further. He said that's what it goes on in the Pasuk over there. That it says that the Lo Yoda Enish Erkov Elokim Hevin Darko, that only the Eibush understood the way of the Torah, is, but that he will do, he literally, the Eibush will give that level, he will give it to him who waits for him, literally. In other words, that Gilui Liosid, albeit, it's only going to be Liosid, but he will give it to the Torah how it is. The Tainug of the Eibush, the Mamish Batz Musa, who will he give it to he who literally waited for him, that he waited for he waited for the Elikus, he waited for the Eibushter. And so the Zohar Kodesh says, who are these people that they wait? What does it mean? Eilin de Dochinin v'daikinen laminda breira de milsa. These are the people that when they learn that they deichik themselves, they push themselves, they hold themselves, and they're medayik in every prat in the Torah, and they don't come swiftly to any maskona, to any conclusion, because they want to minda breira de milsa. They want to know what is the clarity and the truth of every prat in the Torah. The davke kishemadayik ba'esek haTorah beribuy aveda v'omal v'yagia. The davke when he's medayik and he's precise in his busyness in the Torah, beribuy aveda v'omal v'yagia, with a tremendous amount of struggle and effort, liayen heitiv, to be carefully attentive to every detail, love el amitias hakavona, and the purpose of all that careful diuk is to come to what is the emes hakavona. Like we saw that in every hasoga there are several levels, and the highest or the deepest level is not only just to understand what the thing says, what is the seichel of that hasoga, but to know what is the purpose, what is the kavana, what is the divine purpose hidden in that particular hasoga. In other words, what is the Eibishter really looking for? What does he really want? What is the ultimate purpose of that hasoga? And that's called the Indian Amitius HaKavana. So the emes is somebody who learns Torah b'emes, and he's medayik, and he has the senior from Dakinan, Laminda, to know the truth of the matter for Ribu Yegia, is the emes, the tachlis of that is to come to what is the kavana, what is the ultimate purpose. Like we see nowadays, the Dafki the Rebbe was Megala, what is the emes of kavana of everything. A lot of people learn Torah, and a lot of people even Masik Shmaitza Liebe de Hilchese, they come to all sorts of opinions in halacha, maybe some of them are correct, etc. Of what is the ultimate purpose, and where is it all going, and what has to be the ultimate aim, what is the purpose of all these inyanim that you don't hear from these people. And not only you don't hear, but even Hisalmus Miseh. And the Torah, how it came out of the Rebbe, and how it comes out Keseda, the Gilui of Oimek, Achar Oimek, the Dafke from Malkeinu Mashiachenu. At Dafke there we see what is the kavana of every Indian, not only just what does it say, but what is the purpose, and where is it all leading, and what is the ultimate tachlis. Well, that comes Dafke after you've been through everything with the most profound iyun, but then you've come to the emes maskana, then you go even deeper to find out what is the amitius hakavana. Therefore in Lubavitch it was always, the emphasis was always on what is the kavana, what is the purpose. And therefore in the old days, if you asked a Lubavitch Chossi, how is he or what's he doing, he would say the Eibshter so often, we should always feel the kavana. We should carry out the kavana. That's the Lubavitch. Ask somebody how's he doing, and he always says the Eibshter is always feeling the kavana. So that's the ultimate purpose of everything. Is what is the purpose of everything? To what is this aiming, and to what is the hashpah of any hasoga that you were masig and you came to a new appreciation. What is the purpose of that on the whole seder of the olam and the tachlis in the whole inyan of why there's a world, and what is the purpose for chulei v'chulei. So therefore he says, Alidei ribui kushiyas lavara lalabein kol dova. What he comes to that through the many different shaylas and difficult questions, which is kushiyas lavara lalabein kol dova b'chinas oyer chayzer, to literally to whiten, to bleach, to clean out every inyan in a form of going back milmatala maila. What that's inyan from oyer chayzer, So we saw that the Maila, particularly in the other mine we learned towards the middle of the Hemshech, we saw that the Maila Voyel Chayzer is that it goes back into the Shorosh Atzmi. It doesn't just reach the beginning from whence it came, but it goes back into the Inifan Kadamusay, the primordiality, the Nakuda Atzmias, and it returns into the Inin Atzmias out of the Maila from the Giluyim. And therefore he said that's the Inin of Helem Ha Atzmi, goes back into the Helem, that's what we described before in reference to Talmud Bavli, that the Atzmas is by definition Behelem. Not that he really is Behelem, because he's higher than Helem V'Gilui. But at this particular stage in history, Lagabi the Mekablim, and Lagabi the Neshamas Lamata, then he's Behelem. But this is Behelem mitzad the Atzmi, not because he's on a high Madrega. No, this is the Helem mitzad the Esem Tzitzol, mitzad the very Atzmi is Behelem. And Oyer Chayzer penetrates back even into that Helem, like we saw. And eventually the mensch is able to learn Torah, Kaviyahu, how it is, Mamish mitzad the Shashuim, how it is in the Tainug of the Eivishter Mami. But Kamei al Derab Moshul, for example, we take a Moshul of Omul Malacha. The Rebbe uses that expression, Omul Malacha, because there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin where the Gemara uses that expression, Amal Malacha. There's a pasuk in Eiv that says, Adam, the Omul Yevolei, that a mensch is born for hard work, a mensch is born to struggle, to work hard. So the Gemara says over there, Le'eze Omul, for what Omul is he born? So Shema said the Gemara, Omul Malacha, maybe he was born just to work hard. So the Gemara says that's hard to say, that's why he was born just to work hard the whole time, only in Malacha. So then the Gemara says other possibilities. Shema Omul Sicha, how to talk and to explain things and to be a mashpia der dibur, a conversationalist. Even though there are deeper pirushim kemuven in what that means. Shema Omul Sicha, and he also says no, it can't be only for that. So they try several inyanim, and then it says that the mensch was created for the purpose of Amal Torah, that he has to struggle and work and hard in the Inyan Torah. That's what he was really created for. One of the Kisal Daitats is Omul Malacha. That's an expression. The hard work of doing physical work in the Bria. It doesn't mean just digging with a shovel. Malacha means how do you call it? Work. What's the expression? Trade. Yeah, trades. Yeah. Amol Malacha. Besode, in a field, for example, Kishemeyageya biyagia atzuma, lave da admosei, or letachno, lahosi kol dvar hamoineya el hatzmicha, achetia tikuna. Kitikuna, then will be the way it's meant to be. Oz davki yitzmak baribui me'ed. Ve'ira atzlacha rabba betuv melach toi. We said a davki when a mensch works the ground, and he's metaking the ground. In other words, he puts all sorts of chemicals, and he was even what they call manure, and he puts it into the ground. Well, that's metakin, that fixes and maintenances the ground, and the purpose of him doing all that is to take away anything which might prevent the growing of the inyanim, until it'll be mamish the way it was meant to be in the best possible way, kitikuna, oz davke yitzmach baribui ma'id, that things will grow with a tremendous multifarious, he'll have a tremendous crop. Like Spotan, like Abi Yitzchak, that in Pashatel is written Vayizra Yitzchak, B'shana Ha'i, das Vayimta Yemei Shiorim, and he found 100 gateways. So Rashi brings over there that so great was the ribui of what grew from what Yitzchak sowed, that 100 times more, that was only the Maasros. That was what he gave for Maasros. Well, really, he got how much? He got 1,000 times more, even more than that. And so Mea Shiorim was only what he gave Lamaisa. So like Rashi brings over there that Danzel Lamaisa hoy. So there was this for the Inif giving Maisa. So he gave a tremendous amount because everything grew with a tremendous ribui. And over there the Chiddush was that even though, like Rashi said, it was a very difficult place over there. It was down in Eretz Plishtim, down there in Groa. It's not a particularly good earth over there, and it was very difficult. It was a shnas rov and I got some business. Nonetheless, he had tremendous atzlacha. So the Rebbe said, if it's normal situation and you put in all the necessary effort, then it will grow and produce ribui ma'ui, a tremendous multifariousness. Vayira hatzlacha rabba betuv malachti. You'll see great atzlacha in the benefit of his work. Betuv malachti. Akamoisha Kosov. That's put down a pasuk in Mishlei. Oived ad mosoi yizba lochem. So it's written that if somebody works his ground, then he will he will be satisfied by the bread that he gains. Yeah, oived ad mosoi yizba lochem. So the Rebbe puts in a couple of words to back up what he means by to say a brief pirush. What does he mean to work his ground? Uived ad mosi means to work the ground, meaning davke if you put a lot of effort into it, oz yizba lochem, he will have the satisfaction of bread, and again he will eat to full satisfaction his bread. Says the Rebbe, bligvul. Now the word bligvul is not written in the pasuk. The word bligvul, that's a Chassidish expression, meaning that it's not in any way proportionate to the work that he put in. So we see that there's a tremendous marshal that you can take for the whole Inyan in Ruchni, from the Seder how it is, Mamish Bepashtes, Begashmis, if a mensch works the ground and he puts a tremendous effort into it, then we see that he'll be yizbah, he'll be full and satisfied with all the lechem, and the Rebbe said it's a ribui, it's not just down. And like we see that example from Yitzchak Avinu. So I once heard a Maaseh from a very faithful source. Once the Rebbe Rashab was driving in a coach from Lubavitch somewhere about a very important thing, and there was a hold up in the way for a minute. They pulled the coach over to the side, and they had to fix something in the wheels, and it was a brief stop. There was somebody who was sitting in the coach with the Rebbe, and he looked out through the window of the coach, and there was a Yid over there who was working, the ground. He was plowing the ground. He was working in the ground. So the Rebbe looked and he sighed and he said, Oived ad mosei yizba lochem. And he quoted that person. He said, Oived ad mosei. And then he said in Yiddish, Medav zayna oived ad mosei. He said, well, you have to be a worker of your earth. That's what he said there. So we'll leave that to the minds to understand and appreciate. We won't necessarily through all the appreciations because it's pretty clear what was the kavanah. But anyway, that's what I heard as our Maisa. So that's the pasuk. He got it. Oived ad mosei yizba lochem. So he was like that. Gashmi, yes. Yeah. So he said, "Kamoi kain bi'iyun, hatoy v'dibrei Torah." I mean, it's called a Kalvachima. It was like that at Gashmias, and how much more so in Ruchni is that if you put in a lot of work and a lot of struggle in Divrei Torah, B'kol Koyach Sikloi, with all the power of his mind, but Toyreach, with a tremendous preoccupation of himself, Liyageya Es Atzmei, to push himself and to cause himself to work hard and to cause himself more struggle, more hard work. Harbe, very much so. Olam itzman rav al kol dover sheritz lahasig oyer hoemes davke, and that will cause him to spend a tremendous amount of time on every detail that he wants to understand. What is the oyer emes davke? Not just to know what is it talking about, but what is the oyer, as we saw earlier, the light and the illumination of the emes davke. We saw that's connected with that concept of taking out all the little impurities out of the asoga. We saw that's a very high inyan that brings him to the union of the profundity of the Seichel in a way that he unites mamish with the Eibishter B'atzmusay. So he said, Yovei lo'imek ha'amiti ba'imek achar. He will come to the genuine profundity. It was one depth and one profundity after profundity, one depth after the other, ad shekol helem yizkalaloi, until every inyan which has been hidden up to now will be revealed to him. In other words, you'll come to those revelations in the Torah which haven't been revealed ad koi. What that's the emsein of Chidushay Torah. What Chidushay Torah mean new things. It means things which haven't been revealed yet. Those are the time. Arafah, Yizkalaloi Lefisha Magia, Bepchinas Helem Ho'achmi. He comes into that what we called before, the hiddenness from the Makablim and from the Nivroim, Mitzad the Atzmis, the Helem of the Atzmi. Shenimshochim Mishom Giluyim Bepchinas Ein Tzei. But they come from there, revelations which have no limitation. There's no end to what he can be masik, because he's come into he's shachad with the Ein Seif, Kipshutai. Therefore, all of the things that reveal themselves to him are also even for the Ein Seif. So we see that a mensch, when he learns Torah, but even Koseh, he just never stops. He just has what. Yeah, always there's what to be said, and it's always the profound, and you can always sense that it's coming mamish from a very, very high madrega from the union from Atzmusi is bara. But all right, that's what is in Pirkei Avos, but that's what is merumas. It's brought down that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had several talmidim, and he had one of his talmidim was Rabbi Elazar ben Orach. So later the Gemara says that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said the praises of these Talmidim, and when he came to Rabbi Elazar ben Orach, he said, Mayon hamizgaber. They had called, he's a Mayon hamizgaber. What a Mayon means, a spring which is coming from the real Makoy, how they call it, from the Tohim, from the water from underneath the earth. And it's coming out and just keeps coming and coming and coming. The whole time, but it always seems to be getting newer and fresher and stronger. But that's the idea of a Mayon HaMizkaber. So therefore, Rabbi Elazar ben Orach, he was called a Mayon HaMizkaber. That's the same thing here, that somebody just goes from depth to depth, even from, he reaches the Helem HaAtzmi until he's Oifen Alimud, is even from Giluim ad Bepchinas Ein Tzei. In other words, there's no end to it. It just keeps pouring out without stop. So the Bepchinas Eden Atzmei. So the Rebbe said that's the union of Eden. Shezehu Atoira Kamoshehu Bepchinas Shashui Hamela B'Atzmusei Asher Ayin Lo Yerosa Bepchinas Zu Kol HaGiluim De'er Yosher Torah. גם בסודות הנשומות היש גבוהים בגן עדן, ורק אלוקים זו לא שכל haven, the Elokim haven darko. So the Rebbe said that when you reach that level, then you reach the union from Eden Atzmai. Now what does he mean by saying Eden Atzmai? You reach the level of Eden itself. So that's based on what the Gemara says. The Gemara brings in Masechta Shabbos, where the Gemara says, but now get to Gan Eden. So the Gemara says that there's Eden and there's Gan Eden. Eden l'chud vegan l'chud. The Gemara says that Eden is one thing, and the Gan of Eden is another thing. How do we know that? Because even though it's written in the Torah Gan Eden, but it's written Unahar Yotze Me Eden Lahashkeses Agon, that they went out a river from Eden to give water to the Gon. So from that said the Gemara, from that we see that Eden l'chud vegan l'chud. That there's Eden and there's Gan Eden. Even though we use the expression Gan Eden, that doesn't mean that there's only Gan Eden. But Gan Eden is only a Gan of Eden. But there's Eden all on it. Oh. So from that it's mashma in the Gemara that Eden is a much higher madrega and Gan Eden is a lower madrega. So therefore they said the Rebbe, that's the pshat Eden Atzmoi. the very level of Eden on its own without the Gan, higher than the Gan altogether. And so the word Eden is from the word Idun in Lashon Kodesh. What that means, Tainug, it means a thing of pleasure. Eden is from the word Ma'adonim, for example, the same root word which means pleasant foods. Tainug foods is that's the union of Eden. So he said that when a Yid learns Torah in that way that we just described, and he comes into the Helam Ha'atzmi, and the Linum is on even from Ein Sof, that is the level of Eden Atzmoi, higher than Gan Eden. Yeshazo HaTorah K'moshu B'Shashui HaMelech B'Atzmuz. Now here we meet this expression Shashui HaMelech. Once again, that's the union of Torah, how it's Tainug, of a Tainug by the Eibishter. Not how he gave Torah downwards as a Tainug to Nivroim. No, Kaviyochel, the Tainug of the Eibishter B'Teich Atzmai, on the union from Torah, or in the union from Torah, Kaviyochel, how the Eibishter himself literally plays with the Torah, or learns Torah B'Teich Atzmusai. That's the union of Eden. And on that we say, Asher Ayin Loi Rosa. Well, that goes back to the pasuk in Yeshaya Novi, what he says that Ayin Loi Rosa, Elokim Zulasecha, Yasum Echachaloi. So we say that Ayin Loi Rosa means that no eye is possible to be seen. Yeah, B'chol Hagiluim de Uriosha. He tells you what it means that no eye has ever seen this. So he said that in all the Giluim of Ur Yoshua, yeah, then they have never been able to bring the learner to reach such a level. Even he said in those Neshamas, in their learning of Torah, how it is in Gan Eden or Elyon, in the highest level of Gan Eden. Why? Because that's only Gan Eden. It's not Eden itself, it's Gan Eden. And Gan Eden is only Am Shocher. And that's what the Torah says, that Nahor Yotza Me Eden, Lashkreis Sagan, or the union from Nahar is well known, that's the union from Hasogia. That's the union from Bina, and that's what we mean, that the Nisham is how they learn in Gan Eden, even in Gan Eden Elyon, then they learn the union from Hasogia, an understanding. Oh, but that's not the union of Torah how it is Mitzad Atzmusai. Like the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya, right near the end of Perek Dalet, we learned not so long ago in the Chittas, what the Alter Rebbe brings out, in Gan Eden, it's only the union from Tainug HaSoga. He said that Kol Ma'ash Anivra Yochel LaHasig BaHaSoga, or that's Gan Eden. Of a Torah here Lamata is the union from Yichud B'Atzmusi Yisbarach. K'mavur Sham, also in Perek Hay. And Mamela Dafki through the union from Torah you can come to Yichud B'Atzmusi, but only when you learn it, even when Yasser L'Machakeli, but that's what he goes on to say, that that's the union of Eden, and that's Ayin Loira also, that the normal eye can't possibly see that level, because the normal eye learns Torah with how it is in an even of Ur Yosha. And we'll see that that's how the Torah was given down, mitzad the normal, in inverted commas, a Seder of the Inyan for Matan Torah. It was given down, and it was given for us to understand in Hasoga of the Neshamas. But he said even the highest Hasogas, even how they are in Gan Eden, they can't reach that level that comes through El Choizer, through the struggle back with the Inyan from Omo v'Yagia. And he said, Varak Elokim Zulasecha. Only you, how you are, all on your own. Elokim Zulasecha. The Elokim Havin Daka. Only the Eibishter, how he is, Bamitis Atzmusai, he understands the way of the Torah, how it is in the level of Mamish Miyuchad B'Atzmusai. And how, to whom does he give that level to? Yasel L'Machakeloi. Laman the Dayel B'Milin the Chukmasah. That he gives that to Dafki, somebody that he waits for him. And that's the person that he takes everything with tremendous diuk in the Milin in the matters of wisdom. Like we saw earlier, Daikin Laminda Brele Damilsa, and he hesitates and waits and struggles to understand the emes Shebekol Madrega v'Madrega. V'afal pi shechochma de Torah me'ayin de kesa timotei me'ahelemela gilui He said, "Avo yegiya zoi shemadayiku makshis atzmei aladova me'id zo haloa le'oira le'atzmas ho'edan." So that was the Rebbe Lachori container, that there's a pasuk in here which you put down a lot in Siddur, which says that Chochma me'ayin timotzei, that the union from Chochma is to be found from the ayin. And so Siddur explains that that Chochma is referring to Torah, and the ayin timotzei means the naught or the nothing. So Chochma is the first madrega in Olam Atzilus, and the Gilui from Chochma comes from a madrega called Ayin. A Chochma me Ayin Timotzei. What is that in from Ayin? Or that Ayin is Keser. In other words, it's like the negation of all the Esesphiris, including the Indian from Chochma. And therefore it's called Ayin, literally the naught compared to them, because it's so high that they have no real Asoga or grasp. Nonetheless, said the Rebbe, that's already a relative Inyan, even though it's called Chochma me'ayin timotzei, and that's referring to Torah, where Torah comes from the ayin of Keser. Nonetheless, he says, well, that is an oifen of Helem ela Gilui, what it's well known. That Helem ela Gilui means a certain relative connection between the Helem with the Gilui. If you say Helem la Gilui, then that means that the Gilui was in a higher level inside the Helem, and it came out from the Helem to the Gilui, which means that there's an erech between the Gilui and the Helem. So the Rebbe said, L'choira, if that's the case, the Chochma me'ayin timotzei, the Torah itself is misgalef and ayin, and that's called me'ahelem ela Gilui, which means that there's a seder. You take from higher, and you get a revelation of one high level, and then you get another revelation, and you can go from downwards upwards through a whole series of levels, and you come to the ayin, and it's all inyan from seder v'helem v'gilui. So the Rebbe said, all of that is only the inyan of the oir yosher shabbatorah. Well, that's the oir how it comes milmaila lamata. And then we say chochma me'ayin timotzei. So he said, Aval, Yigiyah Zeis, or this type of Yigiyah that we're talking here in the Maimar, where he goes, Davki Ba'er Choizer, Shemadayik Umakshes Atzmei, that he's Madayik and he makes himself difficult the whole time. And he always making things difficult for himself. How do they say the old expression? He makes life hard for himself. Yeah, Aladova Me'id, yes, that is an elevation. How do you call it? A going upwards. It's an elevation. That wakens up the inifan atzmus ho'eden. In other words, the inifan Eden, how it's higher than Gan Eden, and how higher even than Chochma. Lahoishiv koyach rav, lahasik behelim dehelim. He said that gives a tremendous amount of power that you can grasp one hidden thing after the other. In other words, you're not just going from one Gilui to the other, you're going from one Helem to the other. Things which were normally completely hidden from the normal learners, you go in that go from one level to the other. Helem acha Helem. Yeah, he said, you go hasik behelem, de Helem, in the Helem of Helem, de steamer the coal steaming. But that expression there is a abbreviation. Yeah, the hidden of all the hidden ones. Steamer to call steaming. But that's a name for the Evish in the Zohar Kodesh, meaning that he is not known to anybody. Steamer to call steaming. Nonetheless, through that inifan Yigiyah, the Kushi is Beribu Yigiyah, Ba'er Choizer, then he can reach that Helem Ha'atzmi, how it is. Steamer to call steamen, Deleish Makshova, Tavisa Bay Cloud. So we say about that level in the Avish that there's no Makshova can possibly grasp him. But that's put down in Tanya, you're all familiar, you learned it just a few days ago in Perek Hay. Leish Makshova, Tavisa Bay Cloud. But the Alter Rebbe is Medaika over there in Perek Hay, what does it mean the word Tavisa, what they're going to do it. And there's no Makshova, there's no ordinary mind can possibly grasp that level. And that's the Indian of Ayin Loyra also, that no eye has ever looked up there, never reached such a level. Afilu Chochma Keduma. Afilu the highest level in Chochma. Chochma Keduma can even mean Chochma Keduma higher than Atzilus. That's never been able to reach such a level, because the iron from Chochmah is connected with me iron timotzer, well, it's got a certain shaykhs ve'erech. But through this iron from Choizer, what is Medayik or Makshib, al Kol Dover Ma'id, and that's a haloah and an arousal to reach the union of Etzem Ha'eden, and to be moisif koyach, to understand, or not to understand, but to be given the union from Torah, how it is, mitzad stima de ko, stimin and leis machshava tfisa bei, sha'ayin lo yira osa, afilu chokhmah hakeduma. So don't come to score a pillar, but it needs an arichas abiyur. And we're running late, so we have to pause here for this evening. And so we can leave all the intelligent readers with the shaila, with the famous idea of going to sleep with a kashiya. That how can you possibly say that a mensch is masik? Steamer, the cold steamer, the lace mark, you just say lace mark over tvisabay. What does it mean that he's masik? In Azar Madrei, what are the types masik? And ayin lo yira also, I feel chokhmah kaduma. I feel the union from chokhmah, how it is maybe even in Ach, that the chokhmah in Ach is called chokhmah kaduma. So how can you say that the mensch learns Torah in such a way, and he's masik? Well, that which you say yourself by definition not shaitasol. Leish machshava tvisa bei klal. So we should do this like having a cake and eating it. Too, this is ashtira bi'et. We say that it's leis machshava tvisa bei, and the steamer to call steamer, it's beyond the whole union. And that's okay, cloud. You say no, he's masik dot through the union of Choizer, through the union from man, my daikinim, bamilin the chokmah, through that union from Yigi, he comes even to a zah level which chokhmah kaduma. Even the union from chokhmah, how it is in Ach, can't be masik. And he said that he's masik. What does he do? I mean, that's like, how do you call it? Contradicting yourself, be'etzem mamahut. Wie kann das sein? Was it a shot from there? So I see that everybody's full of all sorts of interesting suggestions and tilutim. We'll have to leave them until a future moment. And take it from out, we should be in the union from Aiden and Lamaylam, he said. Aiden, Mashiach will come, Aiden will also be just how to call ordinary Hamish material. Gan Eden will be, very ordinary. All the Neshamas in Gan Eden will say, well, they've been waiting for this. And then we'll be able to appreciate the pshat and some of also very different. Thank you, my